This is why you should think twice before moving into any suspiciously cheap apartment. Everyone has had a bad apartment experience. Noisy neighbors, creaky floors, maybe even the odd power outage. But what if the noise came from a place that doesn't exist? What if your cheap rent came with a secret no one dares to speak of? This man, Daniel, thought he got a steal. But some deals, they come with a price. It started with a deal too good to be true. Such a cheap amount for a month in this neighborhood, Daniel Carr said aloud, holding the lease in his hands. It didn't make sense. A newly renovated one-bedroom, in the heart of the city, great floors, high ceilings, modern kitchen. Either the landlord was extremely generous, or something wasn't right. But Daniel had just gotten out of a messy breakup, and the idea of a fresh start in a place no one knew his name was too tempting to resist. The landlord was an odd man, Mr. Gray, late 60s, silver hair slicked back, stiff posture, and eyes that never quite met yours. "It's a quiet building, mostly older tenants," he had said. "Top floor's all yours. You won't be bothered." And he wasn't. But not during the day. It started the first night. Daniel lay in bed, half asleep when he heard it. Footsteps, directly, above him, heavy, slow. Then the unmistakable sound of furniture dragging, and whispers. Not words, just the cadence of human voices muffled through the ceiling. He looked up. Then the sound stopped. The next night, it happened again. Same. Time, around 2:13 a.m. This time the whispers were louder, urgent, almost pleading. He could barely sleep. Then on the third night, Daniel climbed the stairs to the roof access door. It was locked, no unit above, just tar, gravel, and antennae. He knocked, but there was no answer. He even asked a neighbor, an elderly woman named Mrs. Klein. She blinked at him and said, "Sweetheart, no one's lived above you for 40 years. He stared at her in confusion, then decided to shrug it off. But the sounds continued. He recorded them, played them for a friend. "Creepy," his friend said. "Could be pipes, right? Buildings make noise." But pipes didn't cry. Pipes didn't whisper his name. One night the noises escalated, a slam so loud the apartment shook, then silence, then a voice, clear as day. "Daniel!" He jumped and rushed out to the living room, and the noise stopped. He sighed in relief and fell asleep peacefully on the couch. The next day, he moved out of his bedroom and started sleeping on the couch. But that night, and every other night that followed, the ritual resumed. Steps, dragging, whispering his name. He was scared, but at the same time, curious. Desperate, he did some digging. The building was over a century old, and about 40 years ago, a woman named Elise Warner had lived in what was then a 2-floor penthouse. She was a pianist, and she had gone missing. Her body was never found. Police records said neighbors had heard music playing after her disappearance, and screaming, then silence. The top unit had been sealed off and the building renovated, but no one ever demolished the unit. Daniel became obsessed. He bought blueprints to see the design and structure of the entire building, then set out to investigate the building. And there it was, a hidden staircase sealed behind drywall, an attic-style room above his apartment, not accessible unless you knew where to look. He started tearing at the walls. Behind his pantry he found it, a narrow, spiraled stairwell leading upward, dust-filled, choked with cobwebs. He climbed. At the top was a single room. He slowly pushed the door open and peeked inside. There was a piano in the corner, broken mirror, bed, and a thick layer of dust, except for the footprints. One set. Bare feet, moving around in circles, around the piano, around the bed, then to the wall. And on the wall, scrawled in black, "Stop listening." Then the door slammed shut. Daniel screamed, kicked at the door, but nothing budged. The piano played. One note, then another, then a song, soft, sad, deliberate, then a whisper inches from his ear. "You shouldn't have come." He was found the next morning unconscious on the rooftop. No stairs, no room, just gravel. And neighbors said they had heard music around 2:13 a.m. Daniel moved out, but he never spoke about what happened. Not until a year later, when he saw the apartment listed again, same unit, same rent. He contacted the new tenant, warned him, but the man laughed it off. He said Daniel had probably been hallucinating. But 2 nights later, he called Daniel at 2:14 a.m. "She's whispering your name now." He sounded urgently, and the line went dead. Daniel still drives by the building sometimes, but he never stops, because some places don't want you to leave, and others don't want to be forgotten. But there's more. 2 months after that call, Daniel received a padded envelope, no return address. Inside was a cassette tape. The label read simply, "Play at 2:13 a.m. He waited. Part of him told him to throw it out, but curiosity is a dangerous thing. He played it. The tape began with static, then the soft sound of piano keys, the same melody from the apartment, then whispers, a woman's voice, urgent, satisfied. "He's listening. He never left. We're still here. We all are," she said. More voices joined in, dozens layered over each other, some crying, some laughing, some just repeating his name. "Daniel, Daniel, Daniel." He shut it off, burned the tape. But that night at exactly 2:13 a.m., his phone rang. Unknown number. He didn't answer, and the voicemail was just music. Daniel left town, changed his number, changed his name. But sometimes, in the dead of night, in unfamiliar places, he hears the music, a faint piano tune carried on the wind. Then came the dreams. Every night, Elise Warner appeared in his sleep. She stood by the piano, whispering, never blinking. She began to follow him into waking life. On mirrors, reflections, car windows, train glass, Daniel visited a priest, a paranormal researcher, even a hypnotist. But no one could help. One day, a woman knocked on his motel door, early 30s, holding a folder. She said her name was Claire Warner, Elise's niece. She had been investigating Elise's disappearance on her own, tracing rumors of hauntings back to that apartment. She had found Daniel's name through internet forums. Together, they returned to the building. It was condemned now, but Claire insisted. They broke in. The stairwell to the roof was still sealed, but Daniel felt it, the hum of memory beneath the concrete. Claire found a loose panel. Behind it, sheet music, composed by Elise, titled "The Listening Room." As she played it on her phone's piano app, the temperature dropped, and Daniel heard it again. His name. Then Claire went pale. She turned to him slowly and said, "Daniel, she says you took her place." Daniel stared at her in confusion. Then suddenly the wall cracked and a door appeared and whispers again. "Daniel, come!" Claire screamed. Daniel stood frozen. It wasn't fear. It was defiance. "No," he said. "You don't get to take me." He stepped back, away from the cracking wall and the ghostly door glowing with cold light. Claire looked at him, breathless. "What are you doing?" he replied. "I'm ending this." Daniel pulled out the sheet music. Elise's composition, The Listening Room. He tore it in half. The building shuddered. The air crackled. The whispers surged. But now they sounded like screams of protest, angry and unraveling. Daniel stepped forward and spoke loudly into the dark. "Elise Warner, I know what they did to you. I know your pain. But this place is feeding on it. I won't let it take anyone else." Claire joined him, placing a hand on the wall. Together they began reciting every name they'd uncovered, all the people lost to the apartment, one by one, out loud, as if naming them freed them. The lights flickered violently. The room trembled, and then silence. A soft breeze replaced the pressure in the air. The wall stopped pulsing. The glow faded, and then the door vanished. Daniel collapsed to the floor, exhausted. Claire dropped beside him. They waited, but there were no whispers, no music, just peace. A week later, the city moved forward with demolition. Daniel was there, watching from across the street as the old brick gave way to dust. Claire published Elise's full story online, turning the mystery into a memorial. Donations poured in to fund a music scholarship in Elise's name. As for Daniel, he finally slept through the night. The nightmares stopped. The whispers ended. He even moved back to Chicago, a new apartment, top floor, quiet. He still keeps Elise's broken mirror, not as a warning, as a reminder that even in the darkest places, we can choose not to listen. We can choose to fight. Echo apartment may be gone, but Daniel Carr is still here, and he won't be forgotten.